From Washington, this is VOA News. A UN report in South Sudan finds blame with rebels. More Ukrainian deaths reported near the Russian border. I'm Vincent Bruce reporting from Washington. A report from the UN mission in South Sudan says South Sudanese rebels are to blame for the massacre of more than 300 civilians in the Unity State capital of Bentiu last April. VOA's Gabe Joselo has more.
A new report from the UN mission determined at least 353 civilians were killed in the two attacks, blamed separately on rebel opposition forces and mobs loyal to the government. In the first incident, investigators say hundreds of civilians were killed when rebel soldiers overran the town of Bentiu in Unity State. The report says soldiers shot and killed civilians hiding in a mosque to escape the fighting. 2 days later, in an apparent retaliation for the Bentiu attack, a mob armed mostly with sticks, machetes, and iron bars stormed a UN base in the town of Bor in Jonglei State, killing at least 47 displaced people who had taken refuge there. Gabe Joselo, Nairobi.
4 Ukrainian soldiers and at least as many civilians died Friday near the Russian border in an upsurge of fighting that comes ahead of a meeting of top foreign diplomats trying to salvage a 4-way peace summit. Ukrainian officials link the casualties to artillery shelling by pro-Russian rebels. Kiev also tied the surge to new supplies of weaponry allegedly provided this week by Russia under the guise of humanitarian aid. Nigeria says its forces have launched counterattacks against Boko Haram militants currently holding the northeastern town of Baga and a key military base. Boko Haram seized control of Baga last Saturday. The government says it's been pursuing the militants since then and has conducted airstrikes against them. Estimates of the number of civilians killed in the past week range from several hundred up to 2,000. This is VOA News. A dramatic double standoff in France ended Friday as police forces killed the assailants who include the 2 main suspects in this week's Charlie Hebdo shootings. For VOA, Lisa Bryant has more from the French capital.
Police launched the double assault late Friday afternoon, killing the assailants in both locations. Near the Charles de Gaulle airport north of Paris, police shot dead Sherif and Said Kouachi, who had been holed up at a printing house all day. The brothers are prime suspects in Wednesday's shooting deaths of 12 people at the Charlie Hebdo magazine in Paris. Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Paris.
Western and Yemeni officials say one of the 2 brothers who carried out Wednesday's deadly attack on the French satirical newspaper trained with al-Qaeda's branch in Yemen a few years ago. American, European, and Yemeni sources close to the investigation say Said Kouachi traveled to Yemen in 2011 to train with al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, or AQAP. AQAP formed in 2009 through a merger of the Saudi and Yemeni branches of al-Qaeda. It's one of the network's most active and lethal affiliates. The U.S. House of Representatives has passed legislation approving the construction of a controversial oil pipeline. VOA's William Gallo says the move followed a key court ruling that removes a major obstacle to the long-delayed project.
Friday was the 10th time since 2011 that the House has passed a bill approving the Keystone XL oil pipeline. But this time, the move is bolstered by a court decision that could make it more likely the $7 billion project moves forward. The Nebraska Supreme Court on Friday approved a route for the nearly 2,000-kilometer pipeline to cross the Midwestern state. Speaking Friday during House debate, Republican Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy said the president now has no reason to veto the bill, as he's promised to do.
There was a legal concern. Well, the Supreme Court dealt with that.
On Friday, a White House spokesman said the president is studying the Nebraska decision, but stressed that if the bill shows up on his desk, it will not be signed. William Gallo, VOA News, Washington.
A U.S. judge has sentenced a radical Islamist preacher to life in prison 8 months after he was convicted of federal terrorism charges. The judge on Friday imposed the sentence on Mustafa Kamel Mustafa, commonly known as Abu Hamza, at a federal court in New York City. Last May, Hamza was convicted on all 11 counts he faced of providing material support to terrorists. Pakistani police say that at least 6 people were killed and more than a dozen wounded when a suicide bomber blew himself up Friday night outside a mosque for minority Shiite Muslims in the city of Rawalpindi. Witnesses say the suicide bomber tried to enter the mosque where a big religious gathering was underway. I'm Vincent Bruce, reporting from Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.